In today's show, the Trail Blazers leave Texas with very little holiday cheer to speak of. Is it time for something to change? Maybe the starting group, if nothing else? Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen. Coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, talking about a beatdown at the hands of the Mavs. Sheesh. Blazers lose 132-108 in Dallas to cap a 2-game road swing through the state of Texas. They didn't get the Texas Triangle. No Houston on this trip. The Blazers will head back home for the Christmas holiday and then a game against the Jazz on the other side. Very little holiday cheer in tow. Not the rosiest flights, but we'll get into that game. I want to share some numbers to know about the Blazers' current starting group and why I think it's time for them to change something. Although I don't have a great solution, I have some proposals in and of itself. And I want to talk about sort of why I believe change and experimenting in this type of season is the most important thing you can do, even if you don't see an obvious way out of the muck. Let's do what we do, though. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers, they're in this game. They're up 31-28 after one. I thought Portland played about 15 to 18 minutes of pretty good basketball. And then things started to go a little bit south. Up 3 after 1, down 9, 62-53 at the break. DeAndre Ayton had a big second quarter. The Blazers playing this game without Rob Williams out with an ankle sprain. Probably one of those things where he lightly tweaked it and then woke up the next day and he's like, ow, my foot or my ankle hurts. Every time a friend of yours for the remainder of the season thinks that an injury is some sort of large trade conspiracy, I want you to look at them and tell them they are stupid. Maybe kindly. Stupid might be too strong for it. Tell them they're being silly. That's silly. People, it's the NBA. People get hurt. Rob Williams among them. But they're playing without Rob Williams, which at least clarifies the center rotation, but it didn't exactly solve all of the Blazers' woes. And despite DeAndre Ayton going for 5 of 5 in the second quarter and scoring 10 points, 10 of his, what would be his 16 in the game, he had 14 in the first half, the Mavs get a little space at the end of the quarter. Mavs shot 9 of 11 from 2 in the second quarter. They weren't bombing away from 3. The last time these two teams met was a historic shooting night on both sides. Blazers lost despite one of the best shooting nights of the season. Probably what will be the best shooting night of the season. They were really good. Actually, they've had one other game that was better. But one of the truly excellent shooting nights, and they lost. That's not what this was tonight. Neither team cracked the 34% mark. Blazers 8 of 29, Mavs 12 of 36, just 33% on the other side. The Mavs just did it by getting into the paint. Daniel Gafford was too much. Luka getting to his floater. PJ Washington getting to his floater. A freaking Quentin Grimes pull up from 19 feet in the third quarter. It's like, oh, everybody's getting in on it. And that third quarter is really where things changed. Like the Mavs got they kind of found, okay, here's what's going to happen. Like here's how we know we can get offense relatively easy. And in that end of the second quarter, and then they ripped off 40 points in the third. Blazers turned the ball over 9 times. That didn't help. It's like you're not shooting particularly well. The Mavs are really good. Like they're one of the really good teams. And they're pretty much healthy in this game. No Dante Exum, no Jaden, no Hardy Party, no Jaden Hardy, but like this is like the Mavs playoff rotation. This is one of the really good teams I believe, and you got freaking 40 points in the third quarter, and all of a sudden it's 102-76, down 26 after 3, and now you're going to lose anyways because just like the Blazers don't have the offensive firepower to outscore a team by 27 in the fourth. But the chance for you to like make it relatively competitive, you have a very small window in the first like 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. It's either going to be 30 or 20 pretty quickly when you're down 26, right? Like, okay, we cut it to 18. Maybe we can mess around and lose this game by 11. Or it's like, oops, we're down 32. And it went that way. The Blazers are all of a sudden down 32. We got extended garbage time in this one, about 8 minutes of both teams saying, you know what? Let's play the bench. In fact, the Mavs even went a little bit earlier, 9-minute mark. They started playing the very end of their bench. The only dude who didn't play, Markieff Morris, who I think is their designated does not play, but does some other helpful stuff. Vet. And Blazers loses game 132-108. This seems a little bit much for me to say, but I actually believe it. I don't think the Blazers played like inordinately bad. I think this was a talent game. You know, sometimes it's like they get smoked like this, and it's like you want to say like the effort wasn't there, and they blah, blah, blah. And like, yeah, this was another really bad Jeremy Grant night. He goes 1 of 7. Avery Simons was kind of fine, but not particularly good. 5 of 12 from the floor. Shaedon Sharpe started hot early, 7 in the first quarter, had 6 the remainder of the game. He was 6 of 13, or 6 of 14 from the floor. DeAndre Ayton was really good in the second quarter. Wasn't impactful in the third quarter, and it was a bench show for the final 8 minutes. So it was kind of quick. Deni Avdija was pretty good in this game. Not excellent, and had some moments, some shots, makeable shots that he missed, I think, although he shot fine from the floor. But a couple just like sloppy. He dropped a pass out of bounds and that type of thing. Like I think, I think Deni was pretty good. Like I think Deni was pretty good in this game. I think for all of Scoot's struggles, I think he was kind of fine. Although his box score looks better because he played at the end of the game. But like, I think Scoot was not like notably bad in this one. I think the Mavs are just way better, and the Blazers are just like as much as like it's hard to lay talent at the hands of a 25-point loss. I think this was a talent loss. I personally do. This game didn't strike me as alarming. This didn't send any I try to call a spade a spade. If something looked like, oh, it's way off, I'll tell you it's way off. But like, I kind of came away from this game thinking like, yeah, well, that's kind of who the Blazers are right now. They're just not like, if they have a bad 5-minute stretch in the third quarter, a really good team is going to run off on them and it won't be competitive, and that's what happened. Part of me thinks, like, preparing for this podcast, like, this is a throw up your hands type of game. That's not really a good solution necessarily, but it did kind of feel like this. We're like, well, hey, there you go. They're just going to beat our brains in like that. That's how this one ends. But certainly not like people who would actually use that collective pronoun who are on the team probably wouldn't think that way. But for me, watching it, that's kind of how I felt. But I do think it's time to change something, and almost just for the sake of change, just because you can't keep running into the wall. The Blazers need to shake up their starting lineup. It's time. Let's talk about it on the other side. This isn't a great solution, but it is, I think, a necessary experiment. We'll talk all about it in the second segment. Join me there. First, though, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of high net worth for any net worth, and these generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risks. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. All right. So I mentioned that it's probably time to change the starting lineup. Changing the starting lineup probably doesn't make Jeremy Grant shoot better. He's struggling of late. He is. It kind of just I don't know that there's like an obvious solution for that one, but he's 2 of 12 against San Antonio over the weekend. He's 1 of 7 tonight. That follows a 4 of 14 performance against Denver, 6 of 16 against Phoenix. His last really good game, he was 12 of 19 against the Spurs. In that game, the Blazers blew a 17-point lead when he had that 22-point explosive third quarter monster in that game. And before that, he was 1 of 12 against the Lakers. Like he's in the stretch where he's had some stinkers. I don't think there's a world where they bench Jeremy Grant, and I don't think there's a world in which some of this is just dudes need to make shots. But it is time to change things up. And I actually came across this in 2 ways. I'll share them with you. Here's how the sausage is made in this case. First, I do a little research for this show. Not to brag, but sometimes I look stuff up. So I was looking up some Scoot Henderson numbers because I was going to talk a little about Scoots. I think, there's some folks in my orbit who think that Scoot Henderson would benefit from just like if they just gave him the full red carpet and let him run out and play. If Anthony Simons was just off the team, then Scoot would be like unlocked a little bit. And I just don't believe that at all. I'm watching the dude play. I don't think this is an unlock situation, right? I don't. I think he's struggling, and I think some of it is confidence. A lot of it is skill. It's just it's a combination of things, and I don't think it's just like he needs to play with the starters and get play 4.5 more minutes a night, and then he'd be fixed. I think that's silly. So I was out to sort of like find the numbers that, how the Blazers have done with Scoot on the court, how they haven't, what's the difference with Anthony Simons, how Scoot play with the starters. And I came across that the Blazers starting lineup has been horrendous. I was like, oh no, maybe they should start Scoot because this group is bad. Oh my goodness. And then I was reading John Schuhmann's NBA Power Rankings. I pretty much read those every week. John puts a lot of work into them. They're on NBA.com. He's a longtime NBA writer. They're just really good. You learn little nuggets about little tidbits about every single team, and I guess nuggets about the Denver Nuggets. And in that Power Rankings blurb, that Schuhmann pointed out that the Blazers starting lineup was the worst big minute lineup in the NBA. And the only team that was close to them, the only lineup, 5-man grouping close to them, was the Blazers starting lineup to begin the year. Oh no! Oh no! That can't be it. Luckily, Schuhmann, when he makes these claims, links to the numbers. So I had known that they were like getting outscored by more than 20 points per 100 possessions. But among lineups that have played coming into the games on Monday night, and like every team in the league, only 2 teams in the league didn't play. 14 games, 28 teams in action. So these numbers will change a little bit for the Blazers, and maybe some other teams will change a little bit. But no one's going to catch Portland with this number. So it might not be exact, but you'll get pool pond, as they say. The Blazers, coming into the game on Monday night, the starting lineup of Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, Toumani Camara, Jeremy Grant, and DeAndre Ayton had played 7 games together, and they played 103 minutes across those games, and they had been outscored by 25.7 points per 100 possessions. 25.7 points per 100 possessions. They're getting shellacked in those minutes every night. You're basically trotting out a blowout lineup. Usually, big minute lineups never struggle that much because no team would ever run a group out that bad. The Blazers started the year with a different grouping, but some similar cast of characters. You just flip in Deni Avdija, so it'd be Ant, Toumani, Deni, Jeremy Grant, and Da. That group played 181 minutes across. They've now played 14 games together, but they started the opening 10, and they were at the time they were being outscored by 12.2 points per 100 possessions when they got the plug. When they got yanked, it's now down to 17.2. Those are the 2 worst lineups in the NBA playing at least 100 minutes together. The Blazers' current starters and the Blazers' starters that began the season. The next worst lineup is actually the Phoenix lineup of Tyus Jones, Devin Booker, Brad Beal, Kevin Durant, and Nurk. They're getting outscored by 16 points per 100 possessions, and they've played 112 minutes together. That group, that's like the Phoenix, the Suns are a mess, right? Like that, those are their best players, and they have a blowout lineup too. They have a lineup that just gets in there and plays like they're getting, gets shellacked. But this isn't this. That's I'll leave that to Brendan Clean over on Locked On Suns. The Blazers have to change something with the starting group, And the one change is obvious. It was the change that when I knew they were changing the lineup the first time or approaching it, I was in favor of keeping Deni in the starting lineup and moving Toumani Camara to the bench, and that's what I'll propose again here. So, Shaedon Sharpe, Deni, Jeremy Grant, and DeAndre Ayton. This is kind of like what I would describe as like your investment lineup. These are your 3 highest paid players, your vets. Like every time is the best point guard on the roster. Jeremy Grant has struggled to the point where it's a little bit dicey whether he's the best forward on the roster. He certainly has the best reputation. I think he gets guarded like the best shooter. The way defenses guard Jeremy Grant is very different than the way defenses guard Toumani Camara. But Jeremy he's been pretty bad on offense this year. Started out pretty darn good, and then has really gone the other way. Particularly just like can't make twos. Has some trouble shooting from 3, but just like can't make twos. But I think DeAndre Ayton's probably your best center who can play starter minutes because the other 2 can't play that. Like DeAndre Ayton's better than Donovan Clingan. Do you want to watch Clingan more than DA? Yeah, you might, and I think that's a totally I'm with you. Welcome to the club. But like that's DA's better than him. And coaches generally are going to play the lower mistake guys they can count on versus the high variance guys. It isn't always about deserve and all of this stuff. I think you could make a case that starting Toumani Camara and Deni Avdija would be starting your 2 best forwards, to be totally clear, and I think that would be fair. I would be even in favor of that if you want to ring the bell and say that's the lineup they should go to. Hell yeah. But I think realistically they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. The move to make that they would be willing to make is to put Deni into the starting lineup. I understand why they want Deni in the second unit. It gives him a little more space to grab and go. He's on that group has a lot less mouths to feed on offense. It's like you don't need to get DA shots and you don't need to get Ant shots and Jeremy shots. And now they really make sure you get Shaedon shots. Like putting Deni with the bench unit kind of allows him more space to do what he does, which is like be aggressive, drive hard, look for his own offense. Like Deni's a good secondary playmaker, but most of his best playmaking comes when he is aggressive, getting downhill and drawing attention. Like when he's just not a true point guard. He's a secondary playmaker, and he's good at secondary playmaker, so keep him in that role. In fact, maybe my hottest take about Deni is that his current role as a Blazers bench forward who comes in, and I'd like to maybe see him close some games, but like a bench forward who comes in and plays 19 to plus minutes a night is probably like his ideal role on an elite team. Right? Like on a really good team, that's like the ideal role for Deni is that he's like the change of pace, physical, really, push the pace forward who can play a couple different positions and defend with some versatility. But the Blazers aren't a really good team. They're one of the bad teams, right? So give Deni starter minutes. It's time. That group, if you're going to get outscored by 26 points per 100 possessions, it's worth experimenting. In fact, tonight, that starting group, by my math, was outscored by 11 points in the 3 stints they played together. They didn't come back and play in the 4th because it was garbage time. You get another night here where you get outscored. Now, you will recall the Portland Trail Blazers in this game were outscored by 24 points, so the starting group being outscored by 11 is not exactly noteworthy because also when they went to the bench, it didn't work great. In fact, Delano Banton came back healthy in this game, and they didn't go back to him. They tried something else and went with Chris Murray in the second half. I don't think Banton was good in the first half. I don't think Murray was good in the second half, and that's kind of where I land on this. What's the solution? Let's talk a little bit more about that in the second segment, to close the show in the third segment. Join me on the other side. First, though, let's talk FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The NFL playoffs are almost here. We're staring down Week 17 and Week 18, and then we're going to get on into it, but it's not too late to get in on regular season action with FanDuel. That's America's #1 sportsbook, like I said, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel makes it super easy for you to get in on the action with an app that has super easy to find what you're looking for, plus live scores, live play-by-play updating right there in the app, so you can, get in on all your NFL live bets, but you can also get in on pregame stuff. You can bet on game spreads. You can bet on who's going to score a touchdown. You can bet on total over-unders. You can bet on single-team over-unders. You can bet on who's going to win the first half, who's going to win the first quarter, spread at any point in the game, and so much more. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. I mentioned that I don't know what the Blazers' solution is, right? Like, I don't think taking Toumani Camara out of the starting lineup is going to magically make them good. I don't think that's the thing that's going to unlock them, right? I think you'll have, more playmaking in the starting lineup. You might be able to do some different things with Deni as a screener that you could and unlock some of his and him running pick and rolls where the guards screen for him. Like, I think you could get more creative with putting Deni on the court with your collection of best shooters and not playing him next to like Donovan Clingan and Scoot Henderson for a big chunk of his minutes, or in like two big lineups with Donovan Clingan and Rob Williams, although those two crush the offensive glass together. So the bricks help. But I don't think it's a solve necessarily. Toumani is the Blazers' best defensive player. He has his offensive limitations for sure, but he isn't he isn't wholly worse than the way that Jeremy Grant is playing right now. He just gets treated like that by defenses, and how you get treated matters. There isn't and the sort of impetus for me doing this research was I was like, hey, just throwing Scoot into the starting lineup's not a solution because, and I looked at the lineup data and I said, oh no, it's worse than I thought. The Blazers this season owe it to themselves to change things for the sake of change. This isn't the time to worry too much about, you always have to as a coach, and it's easy for me to say this here, but it isn't too, if it's going to piss Toumani off to take him out of the starting lineup because he doesn't deserve it, you got to live with it. This isn't the time to worry too much about egos. Shoot, if they were comfortable with it, and I thought they would, I'd be banging the drum for them to just bench Jeremy Grant for a little bit and try to figure it out and have him be paired with Scoot off the bench, and maybe that would be better for him. I don't think they're going to do that, but this is the season to say what we need to do is figure out if any of these groups work together. And as soon as one definitively, the worst big minute lineup in the NBA proves that it doesn't, then you move on and you say, hey, we tried that for, it'll be 8 games now. Didn't really work. We played 115 minutes of it. Wasn't very good. That's not very many. Certainly we'll go back to it and try it again at some point. Shoot, we might close the game with it when we play next because that's what Billups he's most comfortable with is that group. But you have to. This is the season to experiment. This is the season to, when something doesn't work, pivot to the next thing and figure out why that doesn't work. There isn't, you look down the bench, there isn't a solution, right? There's not what's the thing that solves this, I guess, is what I'm asking. I'm not a believer in Chris Murray being a problem solver here. I'm not a believer in Ryan Rupert necessarily being a problem solver here. I think Rupert had some minutes early in the season where it's maybe he's got some stuff, and he had some minutes later on as the season progressed where it's yeah, I can see why he's not getting as much action, right? I can see why he's not playing as much. I don't think, if Rob Williams could play 33 minutes a night, sure, maybe I'd be saying get Rob in there, but it's he can't, right? That's not realistic. He's probably in the 15 to 18 range, maybe 12 to 20 if you want to spread it out a little wider. But yeah, he's like a guy who can play in a 7-minute burst and then you get him out of there. Clingan is a young guy and has some warts, right? And I don't think moving him over DA is necessarily going to be the thing that unlocks the team. Again, maybe aesthetically you prefer that, and I probably am in that boat, but this isn't the thing that solves it. Scoot for Anthony Simon is not the thing that solves it. The real truth of the roster is that you can tweak and move around these groups as much as you want, and they're probably going to be bad. But that's why you make the change. That is exactly the reason why I would be in favor of making this change. Not because it's guaranteed to work, but because what you are doing now doesn't, and there is no reason to say, let's get a bigger sample. Well, okay, hold on. We gave the other group 10 games. Like, I think on Thursday, when the Blazers are back home, they come back from Christmas and they host the Utah Jazz, change up the starting lineup and see what you get. What are you going to do? Lose to the Jazz by 40 at home? I mean, again? There's no reason to wait. Just do it. Like, just absolutely just experiment for the sake of experimenting. And when that fails, try another thing. Then say, hey, Mike's an idiot. Let's try Ryan Rupert in this group. Let's move Scoot into this group and let's live the dream and have Anthony Simons be the sixth man for a couple games. I bet he'll hate that, but they won't. There's some political stuff. They're not going to do that. Ant has just been better than Scoot. It's just not going to happen. Jeremy Grant is a trusted part of the coach's decision tree. It's not going to happen. I don't think they're going to bench DeAndre Ayton because of talent and paycheck, probably in that order, but close to one another. They're going to be what they are. And that's why you make little tweaks constantly to figure it out. And maybe not constantly, but 7-8 games with the numbers that suggest it's been terrible. And I'll tell you what, Chauncey Billups is not a big analytics guy, but I know he knows these numbers. I know he does. And when I've ever asked him questions about lineup data or lineups playing together, he will not say he won't ever say their defensive rating is whatever and touch his pocket protector. But he's aware, and the Blazers make him aware of hey, we get killed on offense with this group. And while he maybe doesn't, I think one of the important parts about the NBA and the number stuff is have someone who can synthesize these things and talk to the players without, giving them spreadsheets and graphs. And I don't think exactly offensive rating is that tricky. And I don't think NBA players find it that tricky either. But I know that Billups knows that group sucks. But one, he has eyeballs, he can watch them play. And two, I'm sure I'm sure he's given the numbers every day or, right there in his email. It's that 5-man group is one of the worst that we are trotting out now. Let's try something a little bit different. Throw some off the wall stuff at it eventually, but I think the first tweak you go with is put Deni in the starting lineup for Tumani. And then when you give that, 6 to 12 games, and when that thing doesn't work, we'll be in the middle of January and we'll say, time to try something new, because I think the understanding is that there is no obvious solution that's going to unlock and make this team really good, but the more data you can get on more groups, the better. If you are someone who celebrates Christmas, Merry Christmas. I hope you get to spend it with people that bring you joy. I hope if you don't get to spend it with people who bring you joy, I hope you can hold those people in your hearts, in your thoughts, or connect with them some way, somehow. If you get some time off over the next couple days, you're listening to December 24th's program. Get some time off in the couple days. Try to hold on to your joy if you have some. I think a classic Mike Richmond thing would have been to tell you the thing that I'm joyful about the Blazers, and here's the thing I'm joyful about Blazers. They get to keep going. The best part of the NBA season is that you play every other day. The worst part about the NBA season is you play every other day. Blazers get a couple days off. They'll be back at it. Then it gets rolling again. Thursday, Saturday, here we go. So, basketball or otherwise, hold on to your joy this time of year. If being with, certain people, your loved ones, brings you that joy, hold on to that. Tell the folks in your life you love them. That's my advice here on this Christmas Eve. And then, I guess, listen to the podcast. Seems a little bit less important in general. But so this is you were listening to the Christmas Eve program. I'm not going to record one tomorrow. I'm going to spend time with people in my life that I love and care about. Take a little time off of my work life, and so there's not going to be a podcast in your feed on Christmas Day. But on the evening of Christmas, I will come back down to the studio, baby, and I'll record a podcast. So on the 26th, there will be a show, and obviously after the Jazz game, there will be a show for that one. So you'll get four in your feed this week, and then next week we'll be back at it. That's what we do. 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.